Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chats in Children. I hope you're safe and well and had a lovely summer. Now, today, I'm continuing my series of interviews with senior people at CPHI to learn more about the different aspects across CPHI Frankfurt, which is coming up, not surprisingly, in Frankfurt on October the 28th to the 30th. And today, I'm delighted to be joined by Stella Tsiakalou. Hopefully, I got that right. Who is the Director of Strategic Insights and Research at Informa Market. So, we're going to learn more about some of the trends within the pharma sector and the research which has helped shape this year's CPHI Frankfurt. So, Stella, first of all, it's lovely to meet you. How are you?
All right, lovely to meet you too, Rizwan, and really nice to have this chat today. We've seen each other a couple of times, but now it's a good time to have a dedicated conversation.
It is, yeah. Well, it's the first time you and I are having a proper sentence together, so it's good. All right. So, but my very first question for you is for people who are watching this, what does your role entail? So, what does strategic insights really mean, and how do they influence the wider audience?
Well, our team's official name is Strategic Insights and Research. And actually, this year it marks 10 years since we have a dedicated team on this.
Right.
Now, strategic insights, what it really means? Well, it goes beyond collecting data, right? It's about combining and translating market trends, customer behavior and feedback, and competitive intelligence in order to create, as we call it, actionable recommendations and eventually guide our decision making within the team. At Informa Markets, what we say and what we're proud of is that we don't just identify what our customers are saying, but why they're saying it and what it means for the future. And really, just to make it, a bit simpler, in every event cycle, uh, we start with us, really. We are proud for it. So based on the feedback from the previous editions, we review what has gone well, what needs to be improved, but also what are the new needs and expectations that are revealed and how we can better serve our customers, exhibitors and attendees both. So we can see also in the market what is coming, what is happening, and we combine everything in order to shape the next edition. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, and you also do a report, don't you, in terms of trends in the marketplace as well, which comes out for the industry.
Yes. So this is our main strength, let's say. We both talk to our customers to see what's going on, but we are also checking, all data available. So we're like a warehouse of producing these insights combined.
Fantastic. Now, in terms of market trends or data points, what has surprised you the most in the past year?
It's really about surprising. I mean, there are some things. So, for example, number one, sustainability. All right, it used to be a nice to have, but now it's becoming a differentiator. So we see that companies that do embed sustainability in their offering, they gain faster market share. Another thing that is not just surprising, just to mention, is that remember, despite this whole prediction that the digital world would dominate post-pandemic, it's actually not. So we do see that people still value the face-to-face interactions and the trust that this brings, of course, complemented by digital touch points. So the second one, big one, it's a big topic. Again, not so surprising, but really important to mention is the tariffs, right? And the broader geopolitical climate, because what it really does, it can really change, where the companies source their raw materials, where they decide to set up their manufacturing facilities, and as a result for us, which events they're gonna attend. And of course, I think the one that most people expect to hear, but again, it is surprising, is the rapid explosion of investment in obesity and weight loss drugs, and of course, the rise of GLP-1s. You can see that companies are really changing to make sure that they are faster than the competition. They're really racing there. So it's really interesting to see what this space of the market will bring.
That's really interesting that you brought up tariffs as well, because tariffs are relatively recent
Yeah,
occurrence in terms of the importance, let's say, of the tariffs. Tariffs
yeah,
have always been there; they have been important, but obviously, the the changing face of tariffs, literally
And the
almost.
huge impact that
Yeah,
is
and
having
you know,
right
the big jumps
now.
they're having up and down, and the frequency they're changing, obviously is having impact. So, just as you were saying that, it was making me think. Well, how regularly do you do the research then to be
Oh,
on top of these changes? Because I can understand when you have a show and it's every year or every 6 months you do some research, but with the tariffs, for example, that's
oh,
literally
it's not
almost daily. So,
reason.
how are you keeping up to date with all what's going on in
Yeah,
the market?
so I do have to say that it's not our research, it's not yearly, it's not every 6 months. It's actually one of the mistakes that most companies do when they do research. They
Yeah,
treat research as static, right? But it's dynamic. And
yeah.
given this, we are on top of everything every single month, every other day. We are on top of what's coming through every day. So we have a dedicated resource within our team that is in charge of checking every single day what are the news, what is coming in, what is it that we didn't know last week, and how it can eventually affect, our customers, our exhibitors, their preferences, because we also have to be willing and able to pivot, right? So we are very lucky to have this dedicated team, and we have a person who is responsible for knowing on a daily basis what's going on in the world right now.
Well, that's fantastic. I didn't realize that. Well, and that information is it only available to you guys, and obviously for internal use, or how frequently do you share that knowledge, if you like, to a wider audience?
So my team's main focus, of course, is the internal sharing of knowledge, right? Our contents team objective is to share with our world, and I think you're gonna talk with James afterwards.
I am going to talk to
Uh,
James afterwards. Yeah.
what's going on. So we're really making sure that we get, from all the possible reliable outlets out there, what's going on to inform our event team, and then, reshape some of the things that we can actually have an impact on. Um, we are not doing this as a team, but our content team, I can assure you that they are on top of this and they're sharing constantly around or on our online platform, sorry, what's going on.
Fantastic. Well, look, one trend you didn't mention, but I know it's so obvious, is also obviously AI. So, because it's not really a trend, everyone's talking about it in 24 hours. Right. So, how is AI and big data changing the way you gather and interpret insights? Because as an outsider looking in and seeing lots of stuff about AI, it's that old adage of uh, what you put in affects what you get out, and
Oh yeah.
there are obviously biases built in to AI as well as a lot of people have talked about already. So how does that impact you in terms of gathering, interpreting the data? How much do you use it?
I mean, we use it a lot. You can consider us as early adopters of
Yeah.
AI. So it does affect the speed and scale, right? Right now we can actually process big data sets very fast and very efficiently. And also the depth and personalization, we can very easily see, challenges, needs. And what you said is really true. You have to know how to do it. So at Informa, we have developed our own in-house AI tool. Again, there is a dedicated team doing this. We've been working with them from the very beginning. So you use the prototypes, we used everything in the process and all the stages. And what I can give you an example of how we're using it.
Sure.
It's very easy to cluster data because we do all types of research, pre-show, during the show, post-show, interviews, focus groups, surveys. It can help us cluster this data together, and we can see different, clustering customers based on different needs and challenges, and then we can make sure that we can adapt our show and our offerings based on these needs. And it's faster and it's even real time, so we can see what's going on right now, and we don't have to wait, every edition to make changes for the next one. And the other thing is benchmarking and predictive foresight, as we call it, because we can actually see which themes and trends are on the rise and which are fading in different regions of the world. And then you can make sure which are the themes that will dominate next year's agenda. Again, as you said, everything is fast paced and it's changing, but it's really helpful, and it really, at least for our team, that we have to deal with all this data, time efficient. But very important to know, you need to know how to prompt and you need to know how to use it. So again, within Informa, with our in-house AI tool, Alicia, there are, trainings, and there is very good guidance at the moment on how we can use this AI tool in all stages.
Fantastic. Well, look, that's a really interesting topic. And actually, what people may not know is that when I did my degree, market research was one of the modules I did. So actually, I'm really into market research as well. So this leads very nicely to my next question, which is, what are some of the biggest mistakes companies make then when acting on market research? Because it always amazes me how people talk about market research like companies. You always, when you work for a big company, they always do their internal research amongst the staff, which can be biased because the people who only want to fill in are the ones who want to complain or whatever. But
It's true.
so it's got inherent biases in it. But often, even when they get the results, a lot of companies don't even act on their research. I mean, you hear always often, I got the research and they did something completely different. You go, well, the research said that. Why the hell did you do that instead? Because I
Yeah.
had a gut feeling about it. So, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen companies make in terms of acting on market research?
So one is
Not,
what I already mentioned, right? That they treat it as a static and not a dynamic thing to do. So they do one research for, let's say, one edition, which is usually every year, and then they are basing everything on it, which is one of the biggest mistakes, really.
sure.
Because, industries evolve rapidly, there are so many changes in regulations, in tech. So one is this. I know that it's not quite easy to have a dedicated resource on that, but at least this is something that makes us different from the rest of our competitors, I think. But then the other thing is the confirmation bias. We've seen it in the past, and we've stopped it because, as I said, we are a 10-year-old team now. Companies often go with a pre-made decision, and they just want to test it, and they do see the results, but they don't listen to what the results are saying, and they
They wanted
just
to
go
reinforce their
ahead.
decisions basically rather than
Yes.
anything else.
So they just do it to reinforce, and when they see something different, they don't really make any action on it. Which in our case, I have to tell you that I've worked on multiple research projects, potentials, new opportunities that we saw from the market that either the market is not ready or we had to change direction and eventually launch something successful. So really, if you want to be successful while using market research, you have to make sure that it's continuous, in this whole new agile way of working, and base it on what the market really needs, not just what you think that the market needs.
I suppose timing is important as well. Was often, as you said, the confirmation bias comes in because a lot of companies have already decided to go down a certain path, invested money in it, and then do the research, as you say, to say, well, am I doing the right thing? But by then, they've already invested so much money, they don't want to change paths because they think we've wasted all that money. Then that's part of the issue, isn't it? And so if you
It
do the
is
research,
and again, sorry for interrupting. You need to have the power to have a good and honest relationship with your stakeholders because, of course, if there is investment already in place, we have to make sure that you can actually explain and persuade them what the direction should be and if it's a good or right direction. Of course, there is always a risk, but with insights, we say there is a calculated risk there. So even when you do it, and sometimes you want to do it, at least you know in advance that there is this calculated risk and you can put it in your planning. And I think this is already a big asset moving ahead.
I agree. Right. Well, look, let's talk about the insights then, and how they shape the events and exhibitions Informers run. In particular, what insights and trends did you see to help shape this year's CPHI Frankfurt?
Oh God. So first of all, like my team, and what we do here is to make sure that the voice of the customer is in all the stages of the event cycle. And then we ensure that it also reflects what the market needs today, but also what's needed in the future. I did mention that we do this with pre-show, on-site, and post-show research. We have multiple focus groups on site. We have surveys, interviews, sometimes experiments, and then we combine all the findings, right? Once the event is over, to see what has worked, what needs improvement, what is missing, what we need to bring. In this process, we make sure that everyone is involved. So all departments, everyone who has to do something in the event cycle, they are involved. So everybody leaves that meeting, let's say, with key takeaways on what we need to change, improve, keep. I'm not saying it's always easy to do everything, right? So then you need to prioritize based on objectives, based on what's going on in the market. But this is how we launch new events, for example, or this is how we launch new zones, or how we bring new content paths. One of the examples that we do, because we want to make sure that our clients actually know that we listen to their feedback, is the You Said We Did campaign. So every year in every event, we have a dedicated campaign that we actually showcase what was the feedback that we picked and prioritized and we acted upon, and how we accommodated this feedback, what we changed, what we brought, what we stopped doing, for example. And it actually has a very good, people really like it, people share it on social media and so on. And I didn't mention, but in every event, we have our own lounge, our own stand as an insights, the CPHI Insights Lounge.
I know, I pass it every year.
Exactly. So this is where it's like a hub, is a center, because it's not just about getting feedback. It's really dialogue. This is what we changed throughout the years. It's not about giving cold feedback and then we see and then we decide, but it's really a dialogue to understand better what it is, but also why it is. You know, we also use this technique of 5 whys to reach out the real reason why people are saying something and what they really need. And as I mentioned, so for example, this year, of course, AI is a big thing and we're working on it. You can see our content path that is impacted by this. And then you can see that we're bringing companies in that are in the area of AI. Then, you know, you see the new zones that we're introducing to make sure that we're covering what our clients maybe missed last year, or a new need that is evolving because of all the changes that we mentioned, or how we can help countries that are impacted by the tariffs, how we can better help them to navigate through the show and where to source their raw ingredients or to set up the new manufacturing facilities. So this is how we make sure that we, you know, that we use everything to restructure or to give the best edition ever every year. And then you can see, you know, some new customer experience initiatives, for example, I don't know, like curated networking events or interactive spaces, social activities. And at the end of the day, really, what we want to make sure is that the networking, the innovation, the collaboration that happens within the space of CPHI is of value, so that our clients, both attendees and exhibitors, have their return on investment, right? That's our objective at the end.
That's fantastic. I've got to say, it's fascinating when you start talking about research, because one of the things when you were talking, I was thinking about was how collecting data
Mm.
from people you're trying to get data from has changed so much. I mean, it used to be you do a paper survey or you'd
Oh,
fill in and then it was like Survey Monkey and you send an email out and then fill in the Survey Monkey or whatever. But with social media's changed as well. So from your perspective, to try and get a true reflection of the market and your audience, because different people will respond in different ways.
of course.
How have you, just how has that changed from your point of view as someone who conducts research and then strategically looks at that data to interpret? How has that changed over the last few years, and how do you go about collect? I mean, you mentioned a whole different things that you do to collect
Yeah.
data, but is there any one other thing that you've seen now that has dramatically changed in how people are willing to give you an honest answer? Because that's the hardest thing I think in research,
To
is
be
to get people
honest,
to respond honestly
yes.
and give you and collect that data in the first place.
That's one. And then, you know, over the years, it used to be, you know, the simple surveys in the show space, just cause this is going around. But I think having dedicated people and people working within the company, doing the interviews, and actually, understanding what people are saying. And you can see the change also in the attitude. Once you start asking a couple of more specific questions, they do understand that we do know the market, so they're more willing to share. And what changed over the years? Well, there are new tools and machines, of course, to get your insights. People are more willing to share because they do see that we listen to them. And I
Right.
think that's really important within the CPHI events. We do listen, we do change, we do adapt based on what the industry is saying. So they're more willing to share. And of course, you can understand with the show, which is massive as CPHI, we have many different personas. So if you see a research plan again for this year, it tries to accommodate every part of the pharmaceutical supply chain and every different persona. So I think we're doing our best to talk to everyone. And I've seen also that we brought the human factor in there. So it's not just an interview, very technical, but we incorporated a couple of questions that could make people, warm up and then be ready to share. For example, last year we were asking, who is your role model? Or who in the industry really had a big effect on you and then they really guided you? So who would you like to say thank you, for example? And that really warms some people, and then they're ready to talk, because let's not forget, CPHI is 3 days, 3 very intensive days for most of the customers that attend, and giving even these 20 minutes of your time to actually discuss, the industry or your needs. Sometimes it might feel like, oh, I don't really have the time, but then you see that there is a shift there, and they're really there because they know that whatever they're giving us, we're going to give it back to them. So I think that has changed over the years.
Fantastic. Right. So, well, final question for you. And I know you've answered it really in some of your answers, but for people who are watching this now and have
Yeah.
foolishly not got their ticket yet for CPHI Frankfurt, why should they be attending in Frankfurt on October the 28th or 30th?
All right. I mean, first, I'm going to say the standard answer that I've been giving, I think, for the past 10 years of my life. To be honest, is the one event that has everyone within the supply chain. So it covers the full supply chain under one roof, right? That's the biggest thing. But of course, from my side, from my perspective, is that we do listen to you, and we are here to do the job for you. So we're here to make sure that you are aware of all the market trends, what's going on there. You are aware of what the CPHI community is saying, because we are also sharing what other industry professionals are saying. We combine it for you, so you can just come here for 3 days and see everything. And then you have the time to digest, and we are always here to help you out.
Fantastic. That's a great answer. There you go, viewers. If you haven't registered yet, listen to Stella, get your ticket. The link is above this video, and I will hopefully see you and Stella in Frankfurt on October the 28th or 30th. Stella, it's been lovely to meet you. I could talk to you for ages about research. Honestly, it's a subject close to my heart. So, viewers, I hope you've enjoyed that. I certainly did. If you've got any questions about research, actually, or trends, feel free to put them in the comments below this video. I'm sure Stella will be happy to answer them.
Of
But
course.
I will hopefully see you soon. Until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye bye.
Bye.